What do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator.
That's so cheesy. Why do the British always carry an umbrella?
Really don't know.
Because there's a chance of rain.
Okay.
I got myself with you.
Welcome to It Is Good, hosted by Mike McLean, where we pause to find gratitude in everyday moments and celebrate the beauty in life. From sunrises to heartfelt conversations, let's shift focus to what is truly good.
So on today's episode, we have Michelle Benson. She is a fundraising powerhouse who's been shaking up the nonprofit world for over 2 decades. From climbing the ranks as a fundraising director to founding Culture of Philanthropy, she's on a mission to transform how charities connect with donors. As Queen of LinkedIn, my title, not hers, with over 31,000 followers, Michelle's posts have garnered thousands of reactions, sparking conversations and inspiring fundraisers globally. When she's not revolutionizing the fundraising game, she's spreading joy with her infectious enthusiasm and zest for life. Michelle Benson, welcome to the show.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Mike. As I said, really, really excited to be here.
I have been looking forward to this taping for some time. Unfortunately, we had to delay due to the sickness, but it is really, really good to have you on the show. So we are going to kick off, if that's okay with you, with the Grin and Share It segment. Does that sound good?
It sounds good. It sounds challenging, but let's go.
Yeah. So the way this works is, as the guest, I'm going to allow you to start with a dad joke, and then I'm going to just absolutely stonewall my face. And then if I don't laugh, I reciprocate with a dad joke, and we go back and forth until either we're both satisfied with the quality of the jokes or one of us cracks. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, Michelle, you're up.
Oh,
here we go.
Why not?
Get in the mode.
Okay. My favorite dad joke. What did one snowman say to the other snowman? Can you smell carrots?
Why did Shakespeare only write with a pen?
Don't know.
Because he couldn't decide whether to use to be or not to be.
Mike, did you hear about the magic tractor? It went up the lane and turned into a field.
Why do the British always carry an umbrella?
Really don't know.
Because there's a chance of rain.
Okay.
I got myself with you.
Okay. I think we've lost this.
As I was going through, I was like, we have to get something with like a British UK theme in it.
Yeah.
I knew when I was typing that up, it was going to get me. Okay.
Yeah.
What we're going to do, Michelle, and this is great because that just organically happened. Let's read a couple more because I'm going to put that on the back end. So you won.
Okay.
Now let's keep going through it.
Okay. Mike, what is on the ground and is brown and sticky? A stick.
What do you call a group of unorganized British detectives?
Don't know.
Scotland Yard Sale.
Okay. Why did the coffee file a police report? Because it was mugged.
That's so appropriate. And this, you have the advantage here too, because you were already ribbing me about the Alaska mug. And this is, keep in mind, I'm 6'8", so this is a Mike McLean sized mug. This is 3 cups of coffee in here. So I think that's what tickled my fancy to start this thing off. Okay. Why was the belt sent to jail?
Don't know.
For holding up the pants.
How does a penguin build its house? It glues it together.
Why did the man run around his bed?
Don't know.
Because he wanted to catch up on his sleep.
Okay. Okay. I'll do your last one.
Okay, this is a good one.
Okay. What do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator.
That's so cheesy. All right, I'm going to pick one more here. What did one wall say to the other wall?
Don't know.
I'll meet you at the corner. All right. I think that was a success. I did not make it very far at all. I blame the mug. We started off jovial. We finished jovial. Michelle, what did you think of the Grin and Share It segment?
I thought that was wonderful. I have to say that was harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought cheesy jokes would be fine. Actually, it was quite difficult not to laugh.
And that's a good thing. That's something that we celebrate on this show, is just finding the joy in life. And these are special moments, whether the camera's recording or not. That was fun. So we'll roll right into the first question here, Michelle. Could you possibly share what initially inspired you to pursue a career in fundraising and how that journey has been a reflection of the good that you see around the world?
Great question, Mike. I originally started work in an agency. I worked for a marketing agency in Manhattan, which was wonderful. And I got to work on lots of big brands and lots of big campaigns. And it was really exciting and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as part of that, we used to hook up with charities and do giant checks. So it was always a bit of, do X, Y, and Z, whack a bit of a charity in there, do a giant check, spread a little bit of extra PR and all will be good in the world. And then we did a couple of campaigns where we were actually using the brands to address a social issue. And then it was nothing to do with a giant check. It was Nike, actually. One of them was Nike to look at addressing bullying in schools. And they were really eye-opening in the fact that we could do something socially as opposed to just use a charity like a wrap around it. It was actually a bit more meaningful and a bit more substance. And those became more popular and I really enjoyed them. And then when I got back to England, I was looking for a new job and I was looking for a job in a marketing agency. And I was particularly keen on the social side, but everything I looked at, nothing existed. And then I came across a job, which was an in-house fundraiser, a corporate fundraiser for Shelter, which was a homeless charity in the UK. And it ticked all the boxes. It did all the, working with brands to use their values to put onto, to put a social issue. And so I did that and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to work on some great accounts. But of course, all the effort, instead of even like the agency, all our effort was going to, shareholders and profits and blah, blah, blah. All our effort at Shelter was going to a campaign as well as direct services. And so, that's when, and then I became a corporate fundraiser. And then from there, I became a fundraising director and blah, blah, blah. So, that was the switch. And that's why I switched, and it was always, it's just more inspiring, of course, because when you work inside a charity, you get to go to all the projects and you get to meet all the project staff. And because we dealt with adults, you also got to meet the beneficiaries. And so, that's how I got the bug, as it were.
I mean, I can certainly see how incredible it would be to work on a campaign that, has some meat behind it that you can get behind. Certainly in the United States, that was a very prevalent campaign, the anti-bullying campaign. Did you ever see any tangible outcomes from that? Were you involved in any projects or commercials or anything involved with bullying?
Basically what the tangible outcome, they actually did a piece of research as part of it. And they found that schools that have playground areas had less bullying. So if the
Really?
bigger, yeah, I guess. Well, listen, if you're at school and you go on the break and you then go on to the playground and you've got areas to play, you're not all cramped in
Wow.
together. So the logic of it was quite straightforward, but actually it was quite stark in terms of give children space to actually play. They play. Don't give them, that space. Then it becomes
Huh.
bullying, and antisocial behavior becomes a much bigger problem.
Not to make light of it whatsoever, but I wonder if that would work with my children. I have 3 kids, and just throw a playground in the back, and
Yeah,
that is really, really interesting, Michelle. Wow.
yeah,
Hmm,
yeah,
I'd never heard that before, but that makes sense. It's a
yep,
focused area of getting out exercise. And I think having 3 young kids, it's the excess energy that gets them into trouble,
yes, yeah, absolutely,
as is the case for everybody, right?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
so the It Is Good podcast focuses on finding the inherent good in life and God's creation, kind of what we've already done at the start of this, just a delightful exchange. What aspects of your work bring you the most joy and fulfillment, just on a personal level? And can you share something that fills you with tremendous gratitude?
Um, I started my own business in 2018 because I started to notice that funders were proactively looking for charities, and charities were not proactively being found. They didn't have a strategy that said, I'm going to put myself out there to be found if funders are looking. And so
Mm,
the whole point was I started a course to teach people how to be found. One of the driving force behind it has always been to make fundraising more joyful. Because I think when I first started in fundraising, which was like the late 90s, the premise, every time you joined the charity, the premise was put yourself out of business. We are here to fundraise in order to put the charity out of business. That's what we're here to do. And then around about 2008, maybe to something to do with the financial crash or whatever, I'm not sure. But I then started to notice that the premise of every charity you spoke to was, we are here to scale. We are here to get bigger and not to put yourself out of business anymore. And then the pressure on fundraisers, then it became every year you have to raise more money. Come hell or high water, you have to raise more money year on year, even though there might not even be a logic behind it. We've got to raise, every year's got to be outdo the last year, as it were. So that becomes a tremendous pressure for you to just get more new donors.
mm,
If, from my fundraising experience, if you have a ready, accessible network to tap into, fundraising is a lot easier than if you have absolutely no network to tap into, and you as a fundraiser are supposed to research the names and then from cold drum up an excuse to get in front of people, to then you end up being that pest, that person who's trying to cold call or spam emails and all the rest of it. And it's really unpleasant, it's stressful, it's highly ineffective, and it's also very stressful. Ineffective and stressful makes your job unenjoyable.
mm,
And so if you can, so my whole thing is, if you know how to put yourself out there to be found by funders, and you can warm up an audience at scale, they can either come to you or you got more people to go to.
mm.
If you know how to do that, it takes the pressure off of this one-to-one business. I've got a list of 20 names, at one at a time. I'm going to try to, get in front of people. And it's that kind of lack of joy. And so my whole point was, if I can teach people how to tap into a network, I can take the pressure off them, that, I can, give them peace of mind, give them a real effective strategy that will make their job more enjoyable.
Hmm.
And so that enables you to put the joy back into fundraising.
You made a really interesting point, and I would put a word to it: sustainability. Is that something that in your company you look at and really try to decipher if the organizations are set up to be sustainable, to actually replace themselves, or if they're really just after growth. Is that a metric that you guys kind of weigh?
Because I do a course, I don't do consultancy or anything like that. I don't get into that level
Sure.
of nitty gritty. But what I do is I serve who comes to me. So if a student joins my course, some of them are joining because they're tasked with growth. Absolutely. So a lot of the new business people that come on the course, it's all about growth. I also have a lot of people that come on the course who are account managers who are just don't they're not involved in the new business, but just the retention. And so what they use LinkedIn for, and what I teach is how you use LinkedIn to steward, which, by the way, is incredible. I think everybody thinks of LinkedIn as new business, but actually the retention element is a relationship tool fundamentally.
Yeah.
So because I can teach people how to do the stewardship on LinkedIn, that then bakes in the sustainability, the retention, which gives you obviously the sustainability, which
Sure.
I agree with you, which I think is fundamentally really, really important. And I think a lot of charities are going more, grow, grow, grow. And they automatically assume that means new business, new donors, as opposed to, even if I brought in loads of new donors every year, if I'm bringing them in, but I'm not keeping them, all I'm doing is replacing donors. I'm not growing anything, am I?
I think that highlights the importance of really ensuring that if you're looking to fundraise for a nonprofit or you're donating to a nonprofit, ensuring that those agencies have an end in mind. What is the end state? What does that look like once we've achieved a certain threshold? Because otherwise, to your point, it's really just about growing. It's about creating jobs, which in its own right isn't necessarily a bad thing, but does that really meet the intent of the organization? I think that's an important question that donors should ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think ultimately you're looking at the impact, aren't you? It's the impact. Because some nonprofits can be very, very small and stay small for years, but they serve a community and they make a huge impact in that community. It's not necessarily about getting bigger or even trying to solve a problem. It's providing that service, as it were. So something like a library or a museum, or so you want its presence, right? That's what it's doing. Other nonprofits, of course, your projects may be addressing the need, but your campaigning team at the same time are trying to address the root cause. So, for example, when I was at Shelter, we had a campaigning team which were trying to address the root cause of homelessness, as well as addressing the need of the immediate need of homelessness at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great point. So kind of a deep cut question here. Our first interaction, which really was what prompted me to invite you onto the podcast, you carry yourself in such a way that just invites authenticity and connection. And I think in a world where a lot of people feel disconnected, they don't have those deep relationships, I'd be curious if you have any advice for other people on how to cultivate those meaningful, deep relationships that reflect goodness and joy of an authentic exchange.
Yeah, I think it comes down to being authentic. Because I think like attracts like, right? You want connections with people that you can really relate to and that they can relate to you as well. And I think that authenticity is important, because otherwise you end up, if you try to put on an act to connect with people, you're going to end up connecting with the wrong people. And I think also there comes a point where you find your values aligned with other people. If your values are aligned, then it enables you to feel more connected. And, one of the things that fundamentally, as human beings, we're still walking around with our caveman brains. It might be 20 something, but we're still knocking about the caveman brain, which means that we're quite tribal, and that sense of belonging is huge.
Yeah.
And I think, and you don't need necessarily 500 friends. It's not a numbers game, is it? It's a connectivity game. It's just having those few close people that you really feel like you can be connected to and you align with is I think what we need.
That's such a good nugget for our listeners to really wrap their minds around. This is not planned, but I would love to ask a question off the cuff. Something that we talk about on the It Is Good podcast is gratitude. And if you're familiar with the Miracle Morning, it's a practice in the morning with intentionality. So there's several different areas that you focus on development. It's personal, professional, social, you're working out and exercising, all sorts of things that you really just start the day right. And I'm curious, in your life, is there a particular gratitude practice that you go through in the mornings or at night, or what does that look like for you?
I think I don't have such a regulated one. I am
Right.
familiar with a miracle morning. Yeah, the morning, you get up really early. You've got that, you do this, and I have to say, I'm full of admiration. But being a night person, being very much a night owl, like that. But yeah, I definitely think stopping and really recognizing what
Mhm.
you're trying, being appreciative of what's going well and what you have is really, really important. I mean, that
Yes.
and I think that's the other thing, actually, working with a lot of charities, I get to learn about a lot of causes. And so,
Mm.
at the moment, I'm, got students who are addressing domestic violence, other people that are, just various illnesses. And, you just things like just having your health,
Yeah.
just having health, basically, and just having what we have. You can, it's easy not to be grateful. It's easy just for it to feel incredibly normal, right? But actually, uh, yeah, I am very, very grateful for all of those things.
Tremendous perspective. I mean, that's really what I got from that answer, is that you walk through life with the right perspective, which I think is the intention of Miracle Morning. It's to make you get into the right frame of mind to have a perspective of gratitude, to look at the
Yeah.
small things and be grateful for what you have. And I think that's why a lot of people go on missions trips, and they go see how they can serve in some of these remote areas with deep poverty, because they do gain that perspective, and it really does change everything.
Yes.
Especially in America and the UK, we are blessed materially,
Yes.
significantly blessed,
Yes.
and that is just not a guaranteed. I mean, we won the lottery in life just being born here. But there's also a responsibility that comes with that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That perspective is really, really important. I do want to switch to a fun little segment here. So in the last 6 months, I don't know if you know this, but we actually went and counted. You've had 4 LinkedIn posts with over 1,000 reactions, not views for those that are watching this podcast, reactions. So 1,000 people went to your post and hearted it, liked it, whatever they responded with. Remarkable, remarkable. So as the queen of LinkedIn, I want to put what those 4 posts are from the last 6 months. And I just want to hear which one is your favorite, just off the cuff, and then give us a little bit of story. Does that sound good?
Right. Yep. Yep. Sounds
Okay.
good. Sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to share that with you here. All right. Did that come through?
Yep, all came through. So should I talk about it? So the first one was, being a fundraiser is like being a spy. No one knows what you do for a living. And that was basically just obviously a bit of a joke, but a joke, but true. So I think I said in the post something like, your friends, like your family, have no idea when you say I'm a fundraiser. Your family have no idea what you do. Your friends don't have an idea and sort of often say, what do you do again? And still try to understand it, but don't get it. And then the joke was, obviously some of your colleagues don't understand what you do, but they're always full of good ideas on how you could do a better job at it, even though they don't know, even though they don't understand. And that's that whole classic thing, isn't it? Most people don't, frightening for such a fundamental function within an organization. Fundraising is so misunderstood, or just not
Hmm.
understood, full stop. And so I think the reason that people related to that concept, but also took it in good fun. It wasn't a
Yeah.
serious post by any stretch of the imagination. So that was just a bit of a joke.
Michelle, would you say, real quick, sorry, would you say that first one was your favorite? Or which one would you say is your favorite one?
I actually, out of those 4, I think, it's hard to choose out of the 4 because I like them for different reasons. But yeah, I think that maybe the spy one was quite good just because it was, it was fun. It was a bit of a laugh more than taking anything too seriously.
I thought that number 2 was incredibly insightful. Would you mind just giving a little bit of your insight into that one as well?
Yeah, sure. So this one says it's 2 pie charts, and it says fundraising is not about money. Money is the byproduct of everything else you do. So it's more to do with your impacts, your events, your excellence, your research. So in other words, what I was saying there was, I think people think donors give you money, and absolutely no one's giving you money. People are giving, as Jim Langley always says, people give through you, not to you. So they're giving through you to because of the impact that you are making. And also, it's just that whole thing. It's like, it's because of what you do that the money comes, and that's fundamentally it. It's like it's input creates output. And I also think sometimes with non-fundraisers believing that people just give you money so that they feel good undermines everything the donor's gone through to make that decision, and also everything that you're doing that has attracted people to you as well.
Very good insight. That's remarkable. I'll probably put that right at the front of the podcast. That was very good. So you very clearly have a massive LinkedIn presence. I'd be curious why you chose the LinkedIn community as your primary platform, and what is your favorite aspect about engaging with people on LinkedIn?
Great question, Mike. First of all, I chose LinkedIn because I teach people how to be found by funders. And so what I do is my students go through the process first. So they find me on LinkedIn, then they come to me, and then we usually have some sort of conversation or engagement, and then they sign up for the course. But then they come on the course, I teach them how to be found by funders, so funders come to them. So they've almost gone through the process before they've come on the course. So therefore they've had that lived experience of what I'm going as the recipient of what I'm going to teach them. So that's really helpful. So that's number one. Number 2 is LinkedIn. The reason I chose LinkedIn for my students, the reason I teach it to fundraisers or CEOs or comms people or consultants, the reason I teach that is because LinkedIn has already gathered the audience that you're trying to reach. So therefore, the platform has taken, millions of sort of CSR people or sponsorship people or grant managers or philanthropists or whatever audience or high value partners that you're trying to reach. It's here on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's gathered them. People come to LinkedIn with their work head on. So they're in that work mindset. Unlike when they're on Facebook or other platforms, when they are not, they're more on their kind of, pajamas watching hamster video mindset, not the work head. So they've got their work head on. There's millions of them there already. They've all been gathered by LinkedIn. And if you know what you can do, if you know what you're doing, you can tap in to that ready-made audience. And so everything I do, I do stuff on LinkedIn to test things before I teach it to anyone else. So I'm never going to teach you anything that I haven't lived and experienced and tested myself. And so being active on the platform is the way that I attract students, but it's also the way I test and develop. And then what I do with my course, I constantly iterate the course to reflect the changes within the platform as well.
So I'm going to double click on that really quick, because having 4 posts above 1,000 reactions is remarkable. What would you say makes those posts stand out above the other ones? What makes a successful LinkedIn post?
When I post, I do not talk about myself.
Mm.
And when I post, I'm not selling anyone anything. And so it's and when I'm post, I'm bringing something of value to the party. And I'm genuinely trying to help someone with some valuable information that will be helpful for them. It's not some sort of con job that I'm just putting this out there to like get you, to sneakily get you to join my, because I got a lot more people consume my post and do my course, as it were. So I think because they're genuine, because they are helpful, and because the audience, it was written for the audience to be helpful. And it certainly isn't, look at me, aren't I great? I'm posting, let me send you a photograph of myself. Let me give you a selfie and let me chest beat and tell you how wonderful I am and how great I am and all the rest of it. The vast majority of LinkedIn posts, the person posting is talking about themselves. They're it's like chest beating. It's like, we are the great, a lot of nonprofits, for example, will constantly post about how wonderful they are and how brilliant everything is. And that only attracts more nonprofits. That's not attracting donors, or it makes it sound like they don't need any help. But ultimately, I think genuinely posting, and also I'm not posting to say, look, everybody, I'm really clever and don't I know everything and isn't it marvelous? I'm posting to say, hey, let's start a conversation about this. Who wants to talk about this? And so the posts are there to start a conversation. They're not there to make me look good. They're there to genuinely help other people.
So your career has afforded you the opportunity to witness the profound good in people. On a personal note, what does doing good mean to you, and how do you strive to embody this in your everyday actions, both personally and professionally?
I think it comes down to authenticity and living your values and being true to your values. And so I think I did actually have one fundraising job a while ago where when I took the job, it looked great. It looked like the impact was really, it just looked amazing. And then I was there, I started to fundraise for them. And then I went on a project visit and the impact was not there. What was in that impact report and what was the reality of those projects were completely different. And it kind of expired. It just came about that basically the charity kept on chasing money. So it was saying whatever the donors wanted to hear, that's what we did. We would reinvent ourselves every time we went. Well, before I started, every time they went for the funder, they would just reinvent themselves to get the money, which meant that the projects that they were actually putting on the ground, didn't really live up to what they said they were doing. And I think the impact reports were really exaggerated. And so I had to leave because there was no way I could be going out and talking to donors and looking them in the eye and telling them, this is all true, when I knew damn well it wasn't. And also it was for disadvantaged children. And I thought I could be fundraising here for, taking money out of the sector for disadvantaged. So I think you have to, that job basically it just went against all my values. And so I was utterly miserable. I was really, that was the one job that I was really unhappy in. Flip side to that, I've had jobs which have been great. And that's because they've been super true to the values. You read the impact report and then you go to the project and it's just amazing. And, touch wood, I've had fantastic charity jobs and I've worked for some great charities. And I've also worked for, I've had some really good bosses as well. I had one boss who was about to have was going for a promotion and was being interviewed the next day by the CEO because of this promotion he was after. And the day before the interview to get the promotion, he actually went to the CEO to tell him he thought he was wrong. And that was pretty good. He was basically going to go to somebody, look them in the eye and say, I don't think you're doing a very good job of this. And I think you've made quite a few fundamental mistakes here. And he was doing that the day before the same person was about to interview him for a promotion.
I love that.
And he just a genuinely nice bloke. And and everything about it, he was a really incredible person anyway, but it was just actions like that. And he didn't even make a big deal of it. I happened to know that he was doing that, but not many other people did. So
Sure.
he wasn't even shouting about it, but those genuine acts, when it's genuine and it aligns with your values, I think you find happiness. When it's not, it's hard to ignore. And if, it eats at you, it's something that's what makes you unhappy.
I think it's pretty telling that the one job that didn't align, you left. I think that's a
Yeah.
pretty amazing testament to our viewers to say, ensure before you select a job that it aligns with your values. And if the problem is, if you don't know what your values, you can't know what you're aligning
Yeah.
it with.
Yeah.
So start
Yeah.
there, as we've discussed, start there, know who
Yeah.
you are, what you represent, and then you
Yeah.
can start to step into some of these opportunities. That's really, really
I
good.
think with
And
hindsight, because
yeah,
I thought I was, because with hindsight, I had read their impact report, I'd read their website, I'd done my homework before I got that job. But what I didn't realize was I was reading a load of nonsense. So, what I would do now if I was going for another charity job, I think I would insist on a project visit. So I would not just rely on the, I would actually see, I think it would be fair to say if you were going to accept a position, because most people don't accept a position before they haven't met the team or, you know what I mean? But to nip down to a project visit isn't overburdenous ask. So I think that would have to be, especially as if I was because I was going for a job as a fundraising director at that point. So I think a project, well, anyone, but even as a director, you're accountable for the whole of the fundraising. So you've really got to be sure that the whole of the fundraising is going into what is being said on the website, etc.
yeah, it's good advice. So that really is a great segue into the next question. And so we've talked about perspective being kind of a core tenet of gratitude, positivity. But I'd be curious for you, what personal philosophies or religious beliefs help you stay joyful, optimistic, even when you're facing obstacles and challenging or life in general?
I think the bigger picture helps. I think most of the things that I'm striving towards, I have if I've set goals, for example, every goal is then broken down into those small steps. So if the small steps go wrong, you're still on course for the bigger picture. So you're not so, and then also if it's a small step, then you kind of expect you never expect a straight line from A to B, and so it's okay because you're just on course to achieve the bigger goal or to get the bigger thing. And I think when you see things as just small steps of it's one step of 100, it's okay if things go bad. You can handle it.
So you've mentioned before the importance of organizational culture in successful fundraising. How do you think fostering a culture of philanthropy, as we've kind of discussed already, within a charity reflects the greater good that we or the organization is striving for?
I think a culture of philanthropy, or not any culture, is really how we all treat each other. So it's basically, culture is what do we do when no one's looking, and how do we treat other people? And I think the culture of philanthropy, a lot of the essence is treat your donors and treat your fundraisers as you would like to be treated yourself. So, for example, a culture of philanthropy would say, don't focus on the money, focus on the people. Focus on the actual people and the money will follow. Don't just, see everybody as a walking checkbook, for example.
Yeah.
It would also say, be respectful of your fundraisers. Don't set your fundraisers unrealistic targets because you're setting people up to fail, which again, you wouldn't want to be set up to be failed. You would want people to teach, respect the environment that you're working in and what you're doing. So a lot of it just really boils down to decency and
Mm.
just treating people well. And I think ultimately, if that's, it's not a bad code to live by, is it? I think you'll be all right.
Yeah.
If you just think, how do I want to be treated? That's how I'll treat others.
I think it's such an easy thing to just step over, like it's a toss away. But decency, civil discourse, kindness, it goes such a long way in the human condition. It's really how we were created to interact. And
Yeah,
if people would just apply that to their lives, I think they would see just a profound difference in
yeah,
relationships and the doors that open along the way.
yeah.
And kind of with that in mind, and this has been just a delight talking with you and fantastic insights. I'd be curious if you had one piece of advice for those that perhaps feel stuck, are looking for how to find more joy in life. What's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Again, I think it's trying to get to know your own values. I think if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling unhappy in a place, denying your own values, or you're trying to ignore them or brush them under the carpet. And I
Mm,
think stepping back, maybe zooming out, sort of zoom up as it were, and look down at yourself if you can. Just really, what are my values? What are the things that I hold? And what is really important to me? The things that are deal breakers in reality. And are they in your life, and are you ignoring them? Because I
mm,
heard somebody say ages ago, whatever you tolerate, you are going to get more of. And so if you're tolerating, like I could have easily stayed at that charity and just tolerated the fact that,
yeah.
okay, the impact's not that great, but hey ho, it was not, it was, I could have done that, but it was making me too miserable to do it. And it was also stopping me doing my job because every donor I did know, I didn't want to go and ask them for any money because I didn't, I liked them too much, which isn't a great way to be, nobody should be paying me in that job, right? But again, it's really, it always just circles back to that authenticity. And also, I guess, believing in yourself and having the confidence to really go out there and do what you want to do, and don't let your own limited beliefs hold you back. It's a lot of self-talk. When I work with my students, for example, a lot of people come on my course feeling very, very intimidated about liking, commenting, or posting on LinkedIn because they feel like they're putting themselves out there to be judged. Um, and I can always, when people tell me why they can't post or why they can't leave a comment, I can hear the limiting beliefs in their answers, like explanations of what they can't, why they can't do things. And again, then it's like, let's do baby steps. Let's
Yeah.
just do the baby steps that's going to get you up to whatever level you want to be at. But that's it again, it's so easy to, hold yourself back.
Mm,
So I think really thinking to yourself, right, what's really important to me? What do I really want? Am I holding myself back, or I'm being held back, and getting honest with the situation, because then you can start changing it. But again, if you keep tolerating these things, you are just going to get more of it.
I mean, just wonderful advice, Michelle. And I feel compelled to just share. And I know my listeners will probably be acquainted with this by the time this episode airs. But so I actually separated from the Air Force as a lieutenant colonel. I was 14 years into my career, 6 years shy of retirement for that exact reason. It would have been really easy to coast to a pension.
Right.
But what I want the listeners to hear is that you should not understate the impact of continuing down that path that doesn't align with who you are. And again, if you don't know who you are, ensure you know that first. Do some discovery. But if you do, and there's a misalignment, don't understate the impact that that's having on your drive, your energy, your positivity, your joy. It undercuts everything that you're trying to achieve. So making
Yeah.
sure that you align with the organization that you're a part of is
Yeah.
such a huge part of having joy and gratitude in
Yeah.
life.
I would just add to that, Mike. I think sometimes when I speak to a lot of fundraisers, they will say, I know I'm really unhappy in my job. I think I want to leave, but I don't know what I want. And the frustration is I don't know what I want, and that's why I'm not doing it. So I can't just go, oh, this is what I want to do, therefore let's go for it, or what's holding me back. And
Yeah.
what I would say to that is, it's really hard to figure out what you want or why you want it with your head. So stop using your head and start using your body, because pay attention. If you really in your fundraising job thinking, I'd love to leave my fundraising job, but I don't know what I want. Should I go into another fundraising job? Should I become a consultant, or should I do whatever? Stop thinking with it. Like if you've been thinking with your head and you still haven't got the answer, the head's not working. So now you can start using your body. As you go through your week, pay attention to what lights you up and when you're happy. Pay attention to when you're feeling sad. When you're feeling good, what are you doing? When you're feeling sad, what are you doing? And then just let your body talk to you, because I think a lot of people I speak to feel stuck because they don't know what they want.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And especially in an age where distraction is rampant, the importance of taking a pause and listening is such great advice.
Yeah, because people distract themselves or numb themselves, right? And that's
Exactly.
You don't want to numb or distract. You want to go straight in and go figure, basically.
Yeah. Would you be okay doing a segment about your favorite English quotes? Are you up for that? Would that be fun?
Yeah, I actually so I saw a quote by J. Paul Fridaymaker a post this week, and it said, in Texas you can be all hat and no cattle. And I thought that was really funny, because in England we would say you're all fur coat and no knickers. Which has always
That's
been one of my
perfect. Texas to the UK. What a great transition.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Exactly the same meaning. Different
on a personal
items of
anecdote,
clothing.
I just love the word knickers. I mean, that is just, and they're even funnier to look at. I actually wear knickers, not intentionally, but being 6'8", I just can't find pants that fit. So
Excellent. I can't believe you're 6'8". That's ridiculous. That's massive.
yeah. There's tall, and then there's freakishly tall, and I tend to fall more in that category.
It all makes sense now with the scholarship and the
Yep. Michelle, this has been just an absolute delight. I think our listeners have gleaned several nuggets that they can employ in their lives, and really just the importance of taking a pause and focusing on the things that matter. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
It's been great. It's been lovely to be here, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
All righty. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye now.